You're now listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.
Hello, Rockies. This is Sarah Jane Maroney, your host for Engage the Rockies, your go-to podcast concerning local and state issues for Colorado. Welcome to the first week of 2025. We have a little bit of December and a little bit of January. And first up, some traffic laws that have changed as of the 1st of January. The first one is a car seat regulation. And this was House Bill 1055 that passed last session. And under the new rules, children are required to use a booster seat until 9. And rear-facing car seats are required for children under 2 and weighing under 40 pounds. If the child is under 2 but still weighs more than 40, they can be rear-facing or front-facing. And then finally, the law also requires children under 18 to be properly restrained in a seatbelt or child restraint system up from 16 years old. Don't we all have to be in seatbelts? Anyway, moving on. The next one is secure firearm storage in vehicles. This was also passed in the 2024 legislature session, House Bill 1348, and it requires that gun owners store their firearms locked in a container out of plain sight if they are being left in an unattended vehicle. This law is going to be challenging to enforce because law enforcement isn't permitted to search an empty vehicle without the owner's consent or a warrant. And the ironic twist in this particular bill is that if the firearm is stolen from the vehicle because it wasn't stored properly, the owner has to admit they violated that law in order to report the theft. Violation of this civil infraction is a $100 maximum fine. And then finally, hands-free driving. This is the most significant one, and it is illegal to use a handheld cellular device while driving. And this was passed Senate Bill 65 during the 2024 session. It was tried 10 years before. A decade of attempts have been tried to make this illegal. And actually, Montana is the only state in the country with no hands-free driving laws whatsoever. So you can be chatting away on your phone in Montana with the phone next to your head is what I'm meaning. The cellular device is a secondary violation, as are all of these. So the police would have to have a reason, like you speeding or running a red light, in order to pull you over and then be able to give you this fine in addition to the reason that they pulled you over in the first place. Although, if you had the phone to your head and the police officer saw that, could he pull you over? Maybe. We'll have to check with some police officers. Penalty for using a handheld device while driving is $75 fine and 2 license suspension points. But you can get the charges dismissed if you can provide proof that you have purchased a hands-free accessory. Moving on, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation has identified more than 1,000 criminal cases impacted by mishandling of DNA evidence. So this is an investigation into the former forensic scientist, Yvonne Missy Woods. And basically this started in September of 2023, which is when the alarm bells were sounded in terms of the CBI reporting this. However, a 94-page report by the CBI was unsealed by 20th Judicial District Court Judge Patrick Butler this summer. And evidently, lots and lots of colleagues were very concerned about her behaviors and reported these to their supervisors. And yet another colleague referred to her as the golden child who could do no wrong. It says golden child, in quotes, could do no wrong part wasn't in quotes. So again, it seems like the Colorado taxpayers are the last to know about this stuff, and it impacts quite a lot. In fact, in January, lawmakers provided the state agency with an additional $7.5 million to support review and retesting of an estimated 3,000 samples by an independent third-party laboratory to pay for post-conviction reviews and potential retrying of cases. First affected retrial case basically, occurred in November when 68-year-old James Herman Dye was released from prison in Weld County after previously being arrested on 2 counts of first-degree murder in 2021. Alrighty, a little bit closer to home here in Colorado Springs, the bridges 218 of them we have, actually. Major bridges carrying trains, cars, pedestrians from one place to another had gotten evaluation, and we had a few in need of serious work. In fact, 13 bridges ended up with a condition rating of poor to failed. They say that they will be up to only 8, or down to, I guess, that a few of them have already been fixed, and very shortly it will only be 8 bridges that are needing to be looked at. And there's a couple of expansions being done, but evidently it's quite hard to get funding for this stuff. One would think that they have a lot, but evidently bridges specifically are quite a challenging one. And the getting funding to secure for fixing a bridge comes anywhere between 3 and 12 years. And instead they patch older bridges. Yikes. Since this is a period of growth and most of these bridges were built in the 80s and 90s, their lifespan is coming to an end. In other news, we have a celebrity in Colorado Springs, a notorious one at that. Evidently, the Cybertruck that blew up in front of Donald Trump's Las Vegas hotel was a Colorado Springs resident. Master Sergeant Matthew Allen Livelsberger. This is very confusing because one article says he was on leave and one article says he was in the National Guard, and it's kind of unclear. And I'm sure they're sifting through all of this. But basically, the FBI descended on his home in Colorado Springs, and they even show he rented the Cybertruck in Denver and then drove it to Las Vegas to blow it up. And the police there found a bullet in his head, and basically that the explosion was a secondary thing. That it's not quite clear whether he intended that or not. There's lots of information on his persona and what neighbors think. What I found super interesting, and the whole thing is horrible and tragic, but the glass at the hotel did not explode. So evidently it was impact resistant glass or something. And Elon Musk was actually quite quick to tweet out that it wasn't the Cybertruck itself, it was the explosives that the Master Sergeant had in the back of it. But it did seem to contain the blast quite significantly. There were a couple of nearby injuries, but the only death was the Master Sergeant. Moving on to our final item for this week. On the 8th of January starts the 74th Assembly of the Colorado State Legislature, the second session. We've had quite a few elections, and I want to go over a little bit of that, but I certainly want to encourage people. A link that I have saved all over the place is leg.colorado.gov. And this is where you will find information about bills, information about your legislators. And in fact, if you're new to the political game, you can scroll up and just under the banner, there's literally a button that says Find My Legislator. You click that, put in your information, and it will tell you who your House representative and your senator are. So again, I just wanted to mention a few of these and highlight some election news that happened in November. In the Senate, Scott Bright is going to be the senator for District 13. This is Platteville. And he is the only one that is a new senator that has never served in the state legislature. He is going to the seat that was held by Kevin Priola, who you will recall was elected as a Republican and switched to being a Democrat. So that seat has now returned to the Republicans by the election, but it's because of the senator changing his political affiliation during his term. And there are 7 senators-elect who I'm going to rapid fire name. And I haven't been up to the Capitol a while, so some of these I might butcher. I'm really sorry. But Senator-elect Weissman, Senator-elect Kathy Kipp, Senator-elect Frizzell, Senator-elect Mark Schneider, and Senator-elect Mark Catlin, Judy Amable, that's one that I could never remember, and Lisa Doherty are all going from the House of Representatives over to the Senate. So there's going to be quite a crew that will already be very familiar with each other. And then I'm just going to highlight a few House races. Cecilia Espinoza won District 4 by 60 percentage points. So that's 80% of the vote. What's interesting about this is she defeated an incumbent. Representative Tim Hernandez was appointed by the party after a vacancy, and she managed to get the seats, and the primary is where she ousted Tim Hernandez. Then the same situation, Sean Camacho is now in District 6, and he defeated Representative Elizabeth Epps, who was the incumbent, but she was appointed by a vacancy committee as well. And he took a 70-point lead against his opponent. In Colorado Springs, Rebecca Kelty won her seat of District 16, also ousting an incumbent. You'll recall that we interviewed Steve Schleicher, the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder, and she won her seat by 7 votes. Also, Dan Wogue, he was in the legislature in 2020 to 2022, and he beat his opponent by 123 votes in District 19. In District 30, Rebecca Stewart defeated her opponent. It doesn't say by how many points, but this is the Speaker Pro Tem, Representative Kennedy, and he was term limited. Michael Carter defeated his opponent. This is a Democrat from Aurora. I was about to say Denver. A Democrat from Aurora beat his Republican opponent by 40 percentage points for District 36. And this is Representative Weissman, who is term limited, who is headed off to the Senate. Again, highlighting that there is oftentimes a path between the House and the Senate. And then Max Brooks in Castle Rock, Republican, won by 25 percentage points in House District 45. This is Lisa Frizzell, who is moving on to the Senate. And then just a few more to highlight here. Leslie Smith, a Democrat in Boulder, she won and is taking the seat of Senator-elect Judy Amabile. I can never remember how to say that. I'm so sorry. Representative Ryan Gonzalez, not representative yet, representative-elect, has defeated his opponent by 2 percentage points only in House District 50. And this is very interesting because the incumbent is Mary Young, and she beat him in the 2022 election by the same margins. And they've now swapped again or flipped places again. Very interesting stuff there. And then finally, but not least, by any stretch of the imagination, congratulations to Jarvis Caldwell, who has taken over House District 20, and he used to sit in this seat. So we wish you the best, Jarvis. Take care. These are our stories for the first week of 2025.
Thank you for listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.